a gangster thriller starring Robert De Niro. Where have I heard that one before? This film is directed by Barry Levinson and wrote by Nicholas Pileggi, who also penned Goodfellas and Casino. The film stars Robert De Niro not in just one role, but in two, as two mob bosses, Frank Costello and Vito Genovese. And does it pay off? Does it work? Is Robert De Niro worth the double paycheck? Probably where most of the film's budget went, because it didn't go many other places. This film is such an odd creature, Reuben. Didn't have much marketing in this country, at least, and then all of a sudden I saw a trailer for it and I was like, well, this looks bizarre. It looks very stock. It's based on a true story, and, well, I'm sure we're going to have a lot to say.
Yeah, so I also didn't know that this film existed until about a month ago when I saw a poster for it on the tube. And it was a poster that made me stop and look at it, not because it looked, interesting and arresting, but because I thought that can't be a real film because it looked so cheap. I think that this film is a fascinating curio because it's really, really boring and I have no idea why any of the people who made it got involved. It honestly feels like these very talented, writer, director and star were sort of sat around one day and they found, I've got a script over here. Oh, I've got a weird performance in me. Oh, I've got half an hour to fill my schedule, and they just sort of like bundled it together into something very, very half-hearted. It feels like leftovers. It feels like scraps found on the cutting room floor of a much, much better film. Maybe Goodfellas. All of those bits have been sort of stitched together into something vaguely resembling a film, at which point someone shrugged and gone, that'll do. I mean, it's just phenomenally boring. I spent the first half an hour thinking, this isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be honest. Not a very good trailer, very bad poster, but, not awful. And then it became really bad. It's really, really, really boring. It looks quite nice. The cinematography's decent. It's got quite a nice score too. I love a period piece. There's some fun suits, some nice cars. But honestly, I just was sat there thinking, it's still going. And at one point I thought, this must be the climax. This must be the end of the film. And then realised, no, it's the beginning of the third act. And I leaned over to my friend and I said, I'm really not sure how much more of this I can take. And the answer was I had like another 35 minutes to take, and it was genuinely a struggle. So honestly, I was mind-blowingly bored by this. I really did not enjoy it. De Niro gives a thoroughly decent performance in one of the roles, and that's the Costello role. And then the Genovese role is it's so just boring and silly, and I have no idea why they've cast him in two roles. Like, you think, it's going to be because they want to make you think, they're two sides of the same coin, but it's just pants. Honestly, the whole film is pants, and it feels like everybody's just going through the motions of making a film because they've all done good stuff before. Honestly, I was so bored by this. And when it ended, it almost feels like they just give up at the end of the film, because the final shot is deeply strange and doesn't feel like it was meant to be in a film released in cinemas, because it's a sort of slightly weird shot of someone walking through a wood. And it just sort of finishes, fades to black. Were you bored by this, Jake? Are you on the same page? Were you also baffled by the fact that they use multiple fonts for different intertitles throughout the film, and the capitalisation of each word is insane, and it looks like it might have been edited in Movie Maker?
Well, this film, to me, is mildly compelling.
What? Sorry? Compelling?
No, hear me out, because I'm not saying it's a compelling story, because it's not. It's the blandest of bland. It's the clichéest of cliché. It is stock. I think this film is the most bizarrely edited film I've seen in a long time. Frank Costello, the sort of main Robert De Niro character, the sort of main character of this film, gets gunned down, or attempts to gun down, and yet...
This made me laugh in the cinema. First I gasped, because I didn't know it was coming, and then because of the way it's edited, I just burst out laughing.
It's like a 90s music video.
It's like the parodies of Bollywood films that you see on YouTube as well, where it's like the same thing is going to be replayed 5 times.
Yeah, so the editing is what really drove me insane. It's got too much pace in some aspects, but then the dialogue just seems to continue. You know what it felt like to me when I was watching it, before I actually knew, because who knew anything about this movie, that Nicholas Pileggi wrote. It felt like a fresh out of film school student was somehow able to get enough money to get Robert De Niro, and he's like, okay, we've got Robert De Niro, so what do we do? Cast him in 2 roles. Okay, I've written this script, but it's my first script, it's not very good, so ad-lib, everyone ad-lib. But all they're doing is talking over each other, the same stuff, same lines. Why didn't you kill the guy? I thought you'd kill the guy. Why didn't you kill him? You didn't kill him. What is going on here?
Get me an espresso. I'm Italian. I need to be drinking espresso.
You should have killed him. I was trying to kill him, but you didn't kill him. And that goes on and on and on. It's like, but I was a mob boss once, Frank. I was a mob boss once. It's like, you were a mob boss once, Vito. You were a mob boss once. And it's like, and this goes on. They don't end any scene. It just fades out because they don't know what to do. It does feel like, oh, we've only got Robert De Niro. We have to use every single bit with Robert De Niro in, because God knows what delusional old man thoughts all 3 of these had. Whether it was like, oh, he could probably get nominated for an Oscar. He's playing 2 people. It's gangsters. Everyone's going to love this. They do put these prosthetics on and glasses for the other Robert De Niro, the Vito Genovese character. This half works. I guess you can tell them apart.
No, but if you can tell them apart, they cast different people. This is the thing, it makes no sense. This isn't like Tom Hardy playing both the Krays in Legend, because they're twins. These guys aren't related. There's just no reason for them to be played by the same guy, especially when, as you say, like, they've made him up to look quite distinct. It's one of many baffling decisions. At one point in this film, there is a really extended section where they talk, it's like sub-Tarantino dialogue about the Mormons and where the Mormons came from. I was genuinely losing my mind. What is this? And you're dead right about it feeling like a student film. I had no idea until the credits rolled who had made this. And I just sat there thinking, gosh, this must be a first-time filmmaker. Everything about it, like the calibration of everything, is absolutely whack.
It's just completely lazy and cheap. It's the cheapest thing, and it tells a story that spans, 50 years almost, maybe.
It felt like 100 to me, Jake.
It is too long. Goodfellas is a long film, Casino's a long film, but they fill that with intrigue, good performances, especially Goodfellas. There's so much energy in every single scene that you feel like you can keep watching those types of films. That's the Scorsese charm. But this film just drags and drags and drags. And there's just bits that, that they could embellish with, that they don't. The other Robert De Niro, Vito Genovese, has this love affair that then causes the sort of, eventually is the linchpin that causes the downfall of the entire mob. That love affair is only briefly touched upon. But it also feels like Robert De Niro is too old through the entire movie. He's playing several different ages, and yet is an 80-year-old man playing several different ages. And I mean, he does kind of look like them a bit. It's like watching treacle, but not as sweet. What can be said? I don't agree with you that the cinematography or the score are good. I think the cinematography is bad in a way. Half the shots are out of focus. It just seems very, very rushed. You're right, it does feel like they had an extra half an hour to make a 2.5-hour film. By the end, I got Stockholm syndromed into it, I guess I want to see what happens, but it's just all a bit ludicrous.
I did not want to see what happened. Honestly, I can't tell you how much my soul left my body when I realised that the end of the film was quite far away. I always go into films wanting to like them and thinking, okay, maybe this will be a pleasant surprise. And honestly, as I say, for the first half an hour, I thought, oh, this isn't too bad. Honestly, it is leaden. It's worse. It's slower than treacle. It's crystallised because it's so painfully slow. I was getting depressed. It was it was bad. It was a bad experience. The stuff that is completely inexcusable coming from these people, it's the way in which it feels like they didn't really know what the story was as they were shooting. And at the end of the day, they've tried to cobble something together, and they've patched it all up with one of the, maybe the most egregious, voiceover narration I've seen in recent years. We just repeatedly cut to De Niro talking to the camera. He's not talking to anybody else. We never see like an interviewer or a family member listening to him. He absolutely just went in and they were like, Bob, we need to work out what the story is. So can you narrate at length, please? And just stare at the camera for a bit. And so he does. Surely Hollywood, we can do better for these guys. The only thing that I liked was at one point, De Niro invites a bunch of journalists over to his house and cooks some spaghetti and sausages. And I was like, oh, that looks quite yummy. That looks nice. That looks like a tasty treat. There is a hilarious thing where the Vito character is just always drinking coffee, or he's always got a little mocha pot next to him, or he's eating a little pastry. Like it's like they're really struggling to find a way of differentiating the characters, and they were just like, "You're going to be very Italian."
Don't see this film. I wish this movie would get whacked itself. Dreadful.